can see my screen. We are going to be recording this also, which Melissa just came over to my laptop and clicked start recording, which made me flustered right off the get-go. So this will be on the recording video. So today what I'm going to do is just give a basic review of Clear Access. And probably for some of you on this webinar, you already know this stuff, but there may be people on the training that have never been exposed to Clear Access. So I'm going to just briefly review some of the really basic stuff, and then I'm going to create some queries. I'm going to show you the difference between a query and a script and a little bit of reports and how to download stuff from the reports portal, etc. As far as questions, I'm very open to questions, but if the questions are about, so how do you do this and what table do I go to, I would prefer you email HelpStar for that, and I would be happy to call you later and set up a little, just a one-on-one call and help you walk through building your own query or script. Otherwise, I think if we do that, then we could be here all day just trying to create scripts and queries for everybody. Okay? Any questions about that, what I just said? No? Okay. Okay, what I have up now is the Clear Access, what we call the button bar, and I've already connected. I'm sure you all know how to connect. I'm just going to quickly review the buttons and some of the layout in here. Run is how you would run a script, and we'll review the difference between a script and a query. Edit is how you would edit a script. Connect, of course, is to connect to the database. Query takes me to the query building window. Report takes me out to the report writer, and of course, quit is quit. Same thing underneath the menu drop-downs. There is some advanced stuff in Clear Access, and I won't be reviewing that, but at one point I think I did years ago like an intermediate and even an advanced Clear Access training where you could actually record your keystrokes and build your script that way. Okay. Options, you always want to have this top one checked. That allows you to see the query results down in what looks like a grid or an Excel spreadsheet. Okay. Admin is where you would go to fix joins or add joins. Okay, we might cover that a little bit. And window just swaps back and forth. There is no, at least my install now at this point of Clear Access, I don't really have a help menu or user guide or anything. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go right into how to build a query. And this is what I will refer to as the query window. This is a great way to start and learn how to start doing things. Query allows you to select your tables, select the column or fields you want to see, and actually you end up building a script behind the scenes. What I like about queries is that you can save them for one thing, and you may have a query that maybe you queried something and you know you have it, but now your need is a little bit different. A query window allows you to take an existing query and add more fields to it or change it just a little bit. It's kind of like a cookie cutter, like a template or a stencil. Okay, that's the way I like to think about it. In the top portion of the left-hand side are what we refer to as tables or views. Okay, these are the Compass tables of where you would go to get your data. Okay, every table consists of rows of data and columns and field names. Okay. Down below, if I were to double-click on a table, in the middle window are what we refer to as columns or the fields. Every assessment, everything in Compass has a field behind the scenes. I'm sure you know that. You can set conditions on a field. For example, value of, you can say count distinct a certain field. There's lots of things in here. Okay. Down here is what I call the little tool window, and once we start setting conditions, you'll go down in here to set, what you want the condition to be. I'm going to go to actually a table that makes a little more sense here. So what I did was double-clicked on the program status view or table. VW is the view. These are all the fields. We have agent code, intake date. We have started with these views that we didn't do this years ago, and I really like it now, is that not only do we include the field or the column, which saved in the database were numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, but now we're starting to include the description of those numbers, which is really helpful, because years ago you had to go out and say, okay, 1 equals, this, and 2 equals that sort of thing. So that's what, if you see a field name and then you see the one below it with description, that's the actual text or the description of the fields. Okay? And to build a query, whatever you want to see, you just say maybe the money follows a person description field. I want to see this description field. This. You can click and drag, or you can double click. Okay? I know this is very basic for a lot of you, but given that I don't really know who is on the call that has never used Clear Access, I kind of have to cover a little bit of this. So what I'm doing actually is just building something that I want to see. I want to see this information. I want to see Social Security number. So that's the columns I want to see in my data results. Okay? Down in the middle are any conditions. So in other words, I don't want to see every single program for this particular one. I want to just maybe see my waiver Y people, waiver yes people. And that is called a condition. And as soon as you click and drag that over to the condition or even double click, what it says, okay, well, what about that field do you want to see? Okay, and as you can see, you have just a ton of different options here. I'm going to say equals. I'm going to double click. And then that's when I go back to my tool window and I say type in a value, because I want to say what I want to see. Okay, I want to see waiver Y people. Okay. Down here in the sort order, I have used this. I use it to see what if I'm getting the right data. In other words, maybe I want to see sort by Social Security number, see if there's more than one program. It's a good way for me to see things before I continue on. However, if it's something like bills and care plans where there's just it's going to have to do a lot of work, I don't normally sort here, especially if I'm going to do a report. I'll let the report sort it, because anytime you start adding too much, then it has to think as it's hitting the table, and it's like, okay, she wants this, and now she wants it sorted by this. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And now that I said bills and care plans, I wanted to just say that I'm really not going to be touching on any of the care plans bills. I'm basically just going to stick with some of the Compass views and tables, program status, episode, participant. Okay. This little light bulb down here, in case some of you don't know, you can click and drag a field if you're not sure what that field is, and it's kind of like an aha. It's like, oh, it's from this, it's called this. This is what the length of it is. I can actually see a sample of it, and I don't recommend doing, oh, oops. So that's just a sample of what that field is. Okay. As you start setting more than one condition in here, you have up and down arrows. You can move those around. You have parens you can put around them. That becomes a little more complicated, queries, etc. If you decide to sort, I can pull the Social Security number down. It defaults to ascending. I could say descending. That may be helpful when you're doing like dates of service. If you're querying bills, you could see things like that. If you don't want that there, click and drag trash can, or you can highlight it and hit the delete key. Okay. The no duplicate rows is if you wanted a distinct results. In other words, if you were pulling client data and, oh, what's a good example? Maybe you went to the assessment table, however you didn't pull assessment date. Because there would be multiple assessments in there, you may see, for instance, Minnie Mouse listed like 5 times in a row. If you click the no duplicate rows, you would see Minnie Mouse listed once. And that all depends on what fields you're asking for too. Like I said, if it was an assessment and you pulled the assessment date you wanted to see it, of course it's going to show you every single assessment date. Okay. Any questions right now about the query window? Okay. Also, I forgot to mention that if you did have a question, go ahead and ask your question on the call. Don't raise your hand like we've done in past things where you raise your hand and then I supposedly unmute you and you talk. You can go ahead and ask your questions. Okay. So I built this, and it's a real, very simple, basic query. I'm going to click Run, and there's my data. These are the fields that I asked for. I asked for money follows a person, the description field. So I wanted the text. I did not want the data values. Okay, and then the Social Security number. Very simple, very basic. what I want to show you is that behind the scenes you're actually building a script. Okay, and you can say show script, and it shows you what it looks like. You can also do file edit script, and that allows you to make changes. Okay. If this is something that maybe I want, and possibly, I say save a query if you're going to be building something that possibly you're going to run weekly or something like that, you can always come back and change it. For example, if I say file save query, I guess I'll save it here. Okay, so I just named this one real simple, program query. If I were to come in tomorrow and I want to run this, however, I don't want waiver yes, maybe I want something else. Maybe I want waiver I. I can click on that. I can change it real quick. Say OK. Run. I hope I have a waiver I. Okay, I did. Okay. So that's why I like queries. If they're very simple and it's something you're going to be using often, you can come back in here and change it, run something for someone real quick, and you can choose to save it as it is or not save it. It will default back to waiver Y. You could also, we do some fancy stuff like maybe program description equals, and maybe you could say something like prompt the user. And that's where a little box will come up and say, you know, enter program. Okay. Now when I run it, and this is another good query, is that it didn't have the hard-coded waiver Y or waiver I. Now I can say what I want. Okay. And run it. Oop. What did I do? I chose. Okay, this happens with age. Your eyes get bad. I meant to say program description, prompt value. Say OK, run, and now it asks me. This is nice if you're in charge of building queries and maybe handing them off to someone else. They don't really have to worry about anything but, you know, connecting, click, open the query, run it, and then enter what they need. Okay. Any questions? I'm trying to sort of follow user guide just a little bit.
What page are you on?
I'm just switched to page 5. Okay. Let's see, new. What I want to show you is, well, actually, I'm going to skip around a little bit. I'm going to open up. I want to show you a little bit of a complex query script. Oh, I thought I had one in here. What I'm doing is, oops. What I'm doing is giving myself. Bear with me. Okay, I'm just going to open up this script and take a look at it. This is a script. Queries are sent with the extension CLQ. Scripts are not sent, saved with CLS, and reports are .CLR. Okay, this is a script, and anytime we're asking for, or you're asking for assistance from us, or we're sending you something, we are always going to send you a script if it has more than one table, because scripts will hold joins. Okay, this one happens to be just one table. However, I just want to review what a script is and what it's really doing. It's basically, you know, a query will build a script, and if you're real good, you can sit here and type and build, you know, type out a script. There's some of you that may be able to do that. If not, that's okay too. The select basically is it's selecting the column names. Okay, this here is the schema. This is the table name, and then this is the column name. Okay, so what I've asked for in this script is first name, intake date, the total income, program description, and Social Security number, close date. From is which table it's coming from. And then this is just something Clear Access does. It shows you the results. It tells it to save the data. CLD is your data. And then it's supposed to open up a report. Okay, so that's the difference between a query versus a script. Now you may see scripts a little bit differently, and let me go to where I really wanted to go to begin with. I wanted to go to RP. Okay. And I think some of you got some scripts back from us when we rolled out Participant, and then maybe you wanted to tweak them. And I think when you saw scripts like this, some of you went, I don't know what it's doing, I don't know what it's saying. It's actually, there happens to be a lot of text in here, it's actually quite easy. It's actually easy for Melissa and I to edit some of this stuff. But if you notice in front of the whole select, that's a select distinct, which is the same as no duplicate rows. What we have here is what is replacing the actual schema and table name. Okay, and then this is the column. And if we go down, this probably was okay. When we get to the from, this is where we rename the table with just a letter. And the reason this is so much easier when you take a script and we need to modify it for you, or even you do, you can see that you can find out where this stuff is at. Okay, so if you wanted another field, for example, from the participant, which that PT was where we got from participant, PT, participant, you simply could type, you could hit enter, type PT, dot, and then the field name. And you're ready to go. You don't have to go through this whole thing and start modifying and changing things. It's really simple. So when you see that in a script that you've gotten from us and you need to edit it, give us a call. We probably can find the script and walk you through it. But I just wanted to show you that because I know you guys have gotten scripts back from us, and you see that and you're like, I have no idea where is the table name, etc. Okay? That's what I was trying to cover on page 5. Say what? Here. If they can change that. Oh, okay. Good point. These are the prompts. Like when I was building that query and I said prompt 4 and you were able to type in the program, at the beginning here is it's prompting for, agent code, begin date, etc. And this one actually has a default setting, so to speak. And if I were to run this, and I won't because it might take a little while, or I won't have any data, it would kind of display in that little window, and then you could change it. However, if you have something and you know that you want that poverty income for single to be changed, you can change it right here, and then when you run it, that's what will pop up in your window. That's helpful for things that have, I guess program is the one that sticks out for me quite a bit, or dates of service. You can do that also. Like right now, I could go between those quotes and I could put a begin date and an end date. Okay, so that's another thing. This actually is kind of a lot in here. I probably should open that one. Any questions about interpreting this script and what I was talking about? Feel free to ask.
Teresa?
Yes.
When you do those abbreviated table names like that, are those abbreviations just specific to the script that you're in, or do you guys have like a standard set of abbreviated tables, or how do you do that?
No, we kind of came up with that, but I have to be honest with you. If it's episode, I put E. If it's participant, I put P. But you can put whatever you want. Whatever you put down here, however, of course, and I know you realize that, is what you would be putting up here.
Okay.
Okay, so no, you could put anything you want, and it doesn't have to be just one letter. As you can see, we used EA for episode address. And normally, the reason that P isn't for participant because we use P for program status. I think Melissa probably did this one. I think I used PS for program status, and yeah.
I do. Yeah, I use both.
So no, you can come up with anything that you want.
The only thing you can't do is you can't have it start with a number and no symbols.
And probably no spaces either.
Yeah, no spaces.
No spaces.
Yeah, but so like if you wanted to, you were thinking I want to label this 1, 2, 3 or something, you can't. You'd have to put a letter in front of the number first for that to work.
Right. And I usually put RN for RN. If it's most recent RN, I'll put an M in front of it. if I'm pulling that table.
Something that is short for you to understand what table that is when you look at it another time.
Mm-hmm.
So the closer you are to the table name with the shortcut, the better off you are for, especially when it gets more complicated.
And I have to admit, once I got used to doing this, oh, it is way easier. Way easier.
Than copy and pasting.
Yes, yes. Okay. On page 6, also, I just kind of go over, I have a little screenshot of what the extensions are. You know, I show an open participant.clr for report, CLS, CLQ, etc. Okay. I think I already showed you to run a saved query. I think what I will do now is just quickly build a query. I just wanted to show you the difference between a script and a query. I am going to come back to scripts because I want to show people how to, maybe you don't know the column of the name exactly from the participant table. I happen to use this quite often. I have a way of looking via this script window for the table, the column names. So I am going to come back to this, okay? Something is running?
Yeah, I think it's good. There it is.
Oh, jeez. Let me get rid of this. By the way, all this is on recording too as I'm talking to myself. Grand. It's funny.
Personalized.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Let me just show you a simple query, possibly maybe open participants with address. And at one time before, I forget which release, we finally put a lot more fields in the episode table. And I have to tell you, I'm way happy about that, as I'm sure you are also. Because before we'd have to go to the most recent address table, we'd have to go to the participant table for the name. Now it's pretty much in the episode table for the most part. I'm going to double click on episode. And all I'm going to do is show you how to build a quick and easy query of your open participants with their address. Okay? And then I think what I'll do real quick is just show you, some people have requested, you know, okay, from that data, how can I do labels, mailing labels? So maybe you have something you need to mail out. Okay, so a lot of times once I get down in here and I know the column name, you can either scroll down to find it or you can hit your letter key. Like I'm going to hit the letter F and it's going to take me to first name. Okay, I'm going to double click. Then I'm going to hit L, last name. Okay, I'm going to go back up to address 1, address 2. I'm going to click C for city, and I'm sure it's down here. Okay. S. I'm looking for state, and then it should be towards, there we go, zip. Okay. Right now, I've just told the query basically what fields I want to see. However, because I want open clients only, I don't want everyone. I'm going to pull that's a condition. That's, in other words, I'm narrowing down what I want to see. Close date, and again, as soon as I put something in the condition window, it says, okay, well, what do you want to see about that? And I'm going to say the close date is null. Is null means the same thing as is blank, there isn't one. Okay? So obviously that's what I want. I don't want people with closed dates because I want my open. I'm not going to sort it or anything because actually I'm going to go out to a quick report and click run. And again, I don't have a lot of data. However, this is our QA system and it might be just a little bit slow. So there's my people. I didn't sort them anyway at all. From here, I can do a report, file report. I guess I should go over this just a little bit. You can save as, you can save it as a data. You can auto paste and then open it up in Excel. You can transfer it, you can print it. I'm going to go to the report. And for the most part in report, I'm always doing this type of report right here. It simply places all my fields on the report and then I move them where I want them to or where I want them to be. There's a vertical. I've only used this a couple times. It just basically puts them, depending on how many data fields you want, it could be each person on a page. Blank, Melissa tends to use this a little bit because then she starts placing the fields where she wants. I'm going to go ahead and do mailing labels because I think this might be of some interest to some people. Let me see, mailing labels. You can choose your standard Avery mailing label. I happen to know that 5160 is an address label. Okay, very easy. Click next. From here, it says, okay, well, how do you want the mailing label to look? I can say first name. I know there's I just drew a blank. Oh, space, last name. Now you could do dashes. You could do last name first before first name, then a space, and then a comma. New line moves it down, and then I can say address 1, new line, address 2, new line, city, space, comma, I might put another space there, state, space, zip. Okay? If you make a mistake, highlight it, remove, clear, start over, whatever you want to do. And say next. And then if you want to sort them, okay, so remember I didn't sort in my query results. I'm going to go ahead and sort here. I'm going to say sort by last name. Next. I'm just going to do a print preview. Do this. Okay, there's my label. This is the report design mode, so to speak. If I want to actually see the data in there, go ahead and do that. How do I bigify this? There we go. Hope you can see that. Okay, that's as big as it will go. But there's my mailing labels, and then I can put the labels in the printer, and I can print mailing labels. Okay. Any questions about that? That was, I mean, it's a very simple query, but in case you didn't know that Clear Access could do that, you can. Okay. I'm just going to close out of here, close out. I'm not going to save it. Close out of here. Another one, my next example, and I'm just going to keep using this query and just kind of do what I want for right now, is that possibly maybe you want open participants by county without a Medicaid ID. Maybe that's something you want. So I'm going to leave the close date as null. I don't really need address, so from here I can, you know, trash can what I want, but I tend to just hit the delete key. Okay, so I've got the beginning of another query. First name, last name, close date is null. I can get county description right here, and then the Medicaid ID right here. And because I want open clients that are missing a Medicaid ID, that's a condition. Because right now I'm just getting open clients. I could say Medicaid ID is null. Okay? Oh, right. Good. Probably want to add a program description. There we go. Program description equals, this is an equals. I'm going to go ahead and type in that I want waiver Y only. And I'm going to go ahead and show program description. I do this a lot when I want to make sure that I'm getting what I think I'm getting. Go ahead and click. Like waiting for water to boil. Oh, and any day now. Oh my gosh.
I think it was one person.
Well, I did this, but I didn't put program description, so maybe. Well, this is no good. Don't leave me. I don't know why it's taking so long. There's not that much data. Okay, well, you going to go see if they're doing something? Thank you. Okay, now would be a good time to answer any questions, given that I'm thinking maybe the developers are doing something on the QA system, forgetting that I'm actually doing a query, and that must be why it's taking so long. So does anyone have any questions?
I have a question on the Dale data tables. Are those all the CLRPTs, and are they in the interface here under the tables list or not?
Actually, CLRPT, you would get those scripts from the reports portal, or if we sent you something, you don't get to build a query with those tables, but there is another version of that for you guys to use. They're the CLNTs. And that is Dale data. And, you know, I use those sometimes. I guess they're, I haven't run in, I'm going to say I don't really run into an issue with it being real slow, but here I am with this issue going on. But the CLNT views or tables will be quicker because it's sort of like static data. We put it over there the night before and it's there. It's not hitting the live database, so to speak. Okay, so we do suggest using those if it's a large query and if you don't mind that it's day-old data. What I want to remind you that is if you change someone's pardon?
Are those tables in the interface?
Yes, they are, and I just can't scroll up there right now because I'm hung up for whatever reason. I don't, and Melissa, I thought she was coming back in, but she's not. They are, they're further up above, and I think what I'm going to have to do is kill this because, and I don't think stop will do it. They are up above. They begin with CLNT in front of them. And you guys can use those, and yes, they are day-old data. But I think where I was going was, if you change some clients from, I don't know, waiver I to waiver Y, you did that, and then you turn around and ran that query, and you're wondering why they're not showing up, it's because they're not going to show up until the next day. Okay. So if you're making changes in Compass today, and you're running something today, you're not going to see those changes reflective in your query results.
This is Teresa at Region 4. I have a question. I'm not an IT person. And I've created a couple queries, and one that I've tried to create is to pull our current clients and their current primary care physician. And one of the problems that I'm running into is that it pulls both the primary care physician that's listed in the next assessment and the previous assessment that's dated. And what we're trying to pull is only the physician that's listed under next. Is there a way to only pull a field from the next assessment versus the preceding dated assessment?
Yes, there is. Actually, yes, there is. There absolutely is. It's a condition. You're going to say, you know, the assigned assess date, etc. Why is this beeping? And I would be happy to help you with that. So I think probably what you've done is pulled some other tables that is giving you all of the data, for example. That actually, I'm glad you asked that question because let me get connected real quick, and then I want to. That's a great point because, and I was going to review this and I totally forgot about it. Is that on next assessments, the actual assess date field in the view or table is going to be 31-DEC-9999. That's how you know that's the next assessment. Okay, so depending on your script, depending on what you're pulling, you could just say assess date equals 31-December-9999. That's your next assessment. Okay, but I think probably I would rather see your script that you're using, and then you could email it to me, and then we could review it, and I could help you with that. I could call you, and we could, you could change it on the phone with me, or etc. That's probably the best way to go.
Thanks, Teresa. That's great.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and connect again. I apologize. I don't know what was going on. Which brings me the thought about joins, because we were just talking about that, depending on which tables you were using in the joins. I don't know how many queries and scripts some of you have built since the release and the new views and tables. If you got scripts from us, you just run the script. It really isn't creating joins on your computer, so to speak. But for some of you, you may have really old joins, or maybe even some incorrect joins because maybe you were out there playing around and you didn't realize the structure of the tables and the joins. I'm going to suggest, or at least show you how to get rid of your joins and start fresh. Now, for some of you that may seem horrifying. It's really not. All this means is now when you build a query for the first time and you're using those tables, it's going to ask you to join. And I kind of feel like now you're probably exposed to, the correct joins. I mean, they're actually, in my opinion, the joins are easier today than they were years ago. Because for the most part, it's one or two joins between the tables. But let me show you where your joins are held. They're held on your computer, your specific computer, okay? the C drive, ClearAct, the ClearAct dictionary, I say that out loud even though that's not what it says, that's what I call it. Anything that begins with the word join is actually a join that's saved on your computer. Okay? And when we started rolling it, I cleaned all mine out. I was just like, you know what, it's fine, I'm just going to start fresh. Because I didn't know if I had set up some joins with outer joins, etc., and I really wanted to start fresh, so I would just click, oops, ask me to confirm, and now I'm going to be prompted to join when I start creating queries between two tables. Okay, so that's where your joins are held, and that's how you can get rid of them. If you're uncomfortable with getting rid of them, you can highlight them and move them to another folder, kind of put them off to the side. Again, when you're building a query, it's not going to see them here, so it's going to ask you to join. But if the thought of deleting them makes you nervous, just put them in another folder for a time. Okay? Well, I have to say, I don't think that I'm going to try that one with county and without Medicaid ID. I don't know why it wasn't running. It was a very simple query. It should have ran real easily. But my point in doing that is that I had Medicaid is null, and I would have gotten results. And then I wanted to show you how easy it was to say Medicaid ID is not null, and then you would get people with Medicaid ID. Okay. Okay, right now I'm on page 7 of the user guide. I can actually, what I'll do is bring this up. Okay, let me talk about the views or tables. Okay, anything. Okay, I think Stacy, you were asking this. See the CLNT assessment, IHC. Those are the day-old data views. Okay. Okay, so views. I'm just going to basically cover this a little bit. Anything with a VW is where you're going to go. It's the view, it's the table. The old MISIS tables, like the care plans and bills, will have MISIS in front of them. Okay, but the newer stuff has the VW. So what I do when I come into Clear Access, I scroll to the very bottom, and then I start working my way up to get to the table that I want. It's just what I do. Okay. Any view or table that has assessment in front of it, so VW assess, like this one right here, these views hold the data for that table within the assessment. Okay, it holds all assessments, not just your most recent assessments. It holds next assessment data also. And I'm not sure who was asking the question earlier about getting next assessment, but it would be in here, and the assessment date would be the 31-DEC-9999. That's how Clear Access wants you to enter dates. That's how it stores them. That's the way it likes them. Okay. The VW assessment table is simply the part where you're marking those assessments complete, those little check boxes, and the completed by and the completed date. That's what that is. Okay. And also these will have next assessments in here and the finalized ones. Okay, the next assessment field in here, this might help the person that was asking me about it right here. If you were to set a condition, if that next assessment field equals 0, that's your true next assessment. If it equals 1, that's a true finalized assessment. Is that wrong?
Yes.
I have an opposite?
Yes, next assessment of 1 is the next assessment. 1's yes.
1 is yes. Oh, I did say that wrong. Oh, I documented it wrong too. I think I said it twice. Once was 0 and once was 1. I apologize. I will get that fixed. Okay. Any view with the MRC in front of it is your most recent completed information. Okay, so this will hold the most recent completed SW, for example. So in other words, if there's more than one assessment, this one's going to hold the very last one done that was completed. Okay. The episode table, of course, is where most of your queries will at least start because they hold everything. Okay, as far as the episode, the most recent information. And for the majority, I think a lot of queries and scripts need some, or you're wanting some of this information. The episode initial assessment is holds the finalized initial assessment for an episode. This record does not have to be marked as the first assessment as far as that question. It simply is the minimum assessment. Okay, most recent address. That's the most recent address. However, since we've changed this episode table, you get a lot of that information in there. However, the start and stop dates are right here. So if that's something you need, that's where you go for that. Okay. Most recent assessment. We've got the most recent status, the assessment intervals, the care setting. Again, a lot of this now is in the episode table. And then we have program status. I mean, is there anything that you're seeing listed here that you have a quick question about? We've got progress notes, which are all the progress notes. Sorry, I didn't click on it. Referral, the wait list information. Okay.
Teresa, I have a question.
Okay.
How would you create a report to show a change in the status?
I think we have scripts like that out on the reports portal.
You probably do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little more complicated.
Yeah, that actually is. But there is one out on the reports portal that when they change from something waiver.
Either to or from waiver wire.
Right.
I'll check it and see if it meets what I need.
Okay.
And if not, I'll send you an email.
Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
Thanks.
Yep. Okay. Actually, I think what I'm going to do real quick is show you the reports portal and Clear Access. Oh. In order for a person to be able to use Clear Access, they also need the role Clear Access checked in their user account in Compass. And I'm sure most of you know that because that's how you have questions about Clear Access, is because you're already connected, you're in there, and you have your questions. Let me go to the reports portal. Clear Access, and then there's categories, of course. As you can see, these will say DOD, that stands for Day Old Data, which that means it's using that CLRPT view instead of the plain VW views. That's how you know those are day old data. What we've had some questions about is people actually are wanting to run the script or report from right here. And that's okay. I mean, you're in here, you're running reports. I can understand how that would happen. But what you really want to do is, this is the script column and then a report. And if there's a sample, of course, so if you wanted to see what the report looked like, you can always say, oh yeah, that's a sample. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. We provide a brief description. But some people actually are trying to open it from here in Notepad and run it. I've experienced that. So what you want to do if you want something off from the reports portal from the Clear Access is that you're going to want to save it locally to your computer, okay, and then run it from there. So you're going to save it, you're going to connect to Clear Access, you're going to go find it, just like if you would save a Word document, and then you're going to run it from there, okay? It does not work if you try to open it in Notepad and then go over to Clear Access and click run. It just doesn't work that way, okay? And honestly, I think there is just probably, I don't even know how many scripts are out here anymore. It would be scary. Yeah, quite a few. And for the most part, these are the complicated ones or the ones that people have requested from us to go ahead and put out there. Any questions about how to get the scripts and reports from Clear Access on the reports portal? Okay. And for the most part, for every script, there is a report, and that's because the script actually calls a report, and so that's why you need the report also. Any questions? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and show you this document about some joins. This was my attempt at a visual to show you the joins between the tables. I didn't know how to go about doing it. I was hoping it would be helpful. So my lines are, at some point the lines are squiggly because I couldn't get them to go straight across. But here we go. This is basically the episode view and the participant view. And again, we've put a lot of the participant fields into the episode view. So I'm trying to remember which ones we didn't do. But for the most part, if you do need to get something from the participant view that is not in the episode view, then it's one join. It's a join on a field called participant GUID. Okay, very simple. I used to train on the Magnificent Three, you know, age and code, social security number, you know, screen date. Well, we don't do that anymore, and the one particular reason is you could have an episode for the same client, one with a dummy SSN and one with a real. So if you use those joins, you would get two of that same person, basically. Okay. This is the join between the episode table, because you probably want name, etc., and the most recent completed IHC SW table. Okay. It's on episode GUID. Again, very simple. I think this, I don't know if it's that text that kind of scares people, like what is that field? I can't really see it, and you can't. Unlike, you know, screening date and social security number, you could always see, you know. So that's the join between that. The most recent, like I said before, holds the most recent completed assessments for each episode, okay, because we joined on episode. Here's an example of what possibly could happen is if Mickey Mouse, for example, has one episode with 2 assessments within your date range. So if you ran, I don't know, 6 months worth and they had 2 episodes or 2 assessments done, you're going to pull the most recent one. 1 episode, 2 assessments, you're going to pull the most recent one. If Minnie Mouse has more than 1 episode in that date range, so that she was open and then she closed and then she came back within the year and there was multiple assessments, and you pull assessment date, you're going to get both. You're going to get this one from the first episode and this one from the second episode. And sometimes that's exactly what you want, and sometimes it's not what you want. Okay, so just so you know that. Here comes my squiggly lines. I couldn't get straight through there. I probably should have just went straight through. The episode table, the participant table, and the IHC SW table. And that is all the assessments. Okay? So first you're going to have the join on participant GUID, and then after that it's going to be on episode GUID. And once you do a join between these tables one time, Clear Access doesn't ask you again. Okay, it just knows. So once you join between the episode and participant, and you come back weeks later, months later, and you still do a different query, it's not going to ask you to join again. Okay? I probably don't need to go through all of these, but that's in the user guide. It actually doesn't have page numbers because I had to do it in a different program and then put it in here, but that's there. Joins are actually, I don't have any joins, but if you wanted to alter some joins or see your joins, admin joins lists all the tables. Let me go up to episode. I could create them ahead of time too. Someone, I think, asked me that, would it, you know, be in their best interest to go through and just create all the joins? It probably wouldn't hurt anything, but for me, a join, and when I'm building a query or script, I have to think about what I need at that point, and does it make sense to, you know, I have to think about the joins at that point if I've never joined between those tables. But I can't think of a reason why it would hurt. Can you, Melissa, if they decide, if they knew the joins and they wanted to go through and create joins, can you think of any reason why that's a bad idea? Okay. So let's pretend I'm creating a join between the episode and the participant. Okay, so on this side is the episode table. Here's all the columns. Participant table, here's all the columns. We know that it's participant GUID. I'm going to hit the P. It's going to take me down to participant GUID. P, participant GUID. I highlight the ones that I want. I say create join. I say OK. I now have a join between those 2 tables. Okay. Any questions about that? I know joins kind of freak people out, but they're really not that bad. No questions?
I have a question.
Okay, one of you?
When you're running the scripts that CIM created, if there was joins created with those, will they then automatically be on our computer and we would not need to recreate that join if we were creating a different script or query?
That's a great question. That's why we always send you guys scripts, because we have, the scripts are in there from us, and we know that for the most part, I mean, I'm going to say they're good, you know, but as soon as I say that, I feel like it comes back and haunts me somehow. But No, it does not look at your computer then joins. It looks exactly what's in that script. Okay?
And it doesn't carry forward into your future queries either.
Mm-mm. At that point, it's reading a file. I'm trying to think of which is.
Those joins that she was showing you are only specific to a query window, when you run something from a query window. If you're running a script, it will never pay attention to the joins that you've made in the admin joins area or when it's prompted you before in the past. It does whatever's written in the script.
Right. Here's a much better script from the reports portal. I kept opening up the really complicated ones on accident. So again, this one is, for me, is easy to read. The select, these are the columns. Again, we have abbreviations. Any conditions, close date is null. That's because we want it open. Here's the join. Okay, episode, participant GUID to the PT, participant GUID. The PT is the participant, etc. When you get this or you download this from reports portal, that's exactly what it does. It goes through and it reads line for line, and that's what it gives you. Okay? It doesn't mean that if then you build something between the episode and participant that it will just remember that you ran a script once it had joins. If you don't have your joins created, when you build something, it's going to ask you. Okay? Did that answer your question? Hello? Did we get disconnected? Oh, okay. Did someone else have a question? Because I felt like two people started to speak.
Teresa, Stacy at Senior Resources.
Okay.
I had a question on the, what are the three main fields then that we want to be looking for? I know it used to be the agent code, screening date, and coach number. So it's like I'm looking at this minute and I'm only seeing the two fields.
Right.
The third one?
No. For the most part, there isn't. It all depends on the script that you're creating. I mean, it's safe to say that it's participant GUID between the episode and participant. It's episode GUID for the most part in other ones. If you're going to go out and go to the assessment table and then an assessment, like the main assessment table and then maybe some caregivers or something like that, then you're going to want assessment GUID. Because you're probably looking for caregivers for that assessment within, because you're going to have multiple assessments. Okay.
Need a minimum of 3 joins?
No,
I don't even think it's that many.
no, you could you could just do one. If you, so every table to table, you need one join as minimum requirements for the system. But you may end up needing a few more depending on what you're trying to join. When we gave you guys these views, we tried to add as many of these GUIDs to every single view so that you guys don't have to do the painful things we have to do behind the scenes of adding more tables involved. So for the most part, you should pretty much have one join per table. You just have to make sure you understand what's the, what's the thing that narrows it down the most and use that. So like between episode and participant GUID is it, because participant's the highest level you can be. But between episode and assessment, it'd be episode GUID, not participant GUID between those two, because that participant is way too high up the chain. So that's why we're saying episode GUID at that level. Okay? It's kind of hard to understand how joins work.
But once you
just to
get
give
it,
you some information, I think that will give you the common denominators between everything.
right. And then there's also the data dictionary, which is out on the reports portal, clear access files, data dictionary. Okay, that is all the views, the field. Actually, I have it right here. I can just quickly show you the field name, the question text, etc. And along the bottom is how you get to the different ones. Okay, so if you haven't downloaded that, you're probably going to want to do that also. Okay. I understand what you're saying, Stacy, because I mean, for so many years it was those three joins, and it was real easy to know and remember. But after moving over to the new way, I like this way a lot better.
And I think maybe part of it we need to back up because we forget that we know more in regards to what a GUID is. A GUID is a unique value that is in every record in a table. So every episode in the system has its own GUID that is a unique identifier to that episode. And same thing with the participants. They have a unique GUID for every single person in the system. So that's why we can join by those specifically, because there aren't multiples of the GUIDs. And then we are adding the prefix on there to tell you what table those GUIDs are coming from for the joining purposes. So the participant table really just has a GUID field, but we're calling it participant GUID in the views so that you can identify that that is the participant's GUID versus an episode GUID. So that's why we're allowed to just do the one versus there were many combinations of agents and Social Security numbers because they had multiple intakes. And multiple intakes had multiple Social Security numbers as a possibility. So we had to use all of them as a combination to get the right results. But we don't have to do that now that we have this unique thing that covers every single record uniquely with the GUIDs.
What I can show now is just what's going to happen when you build a query and you don't have any joins between the table. So I'll just do that real quick. And then I think what I'm going to move to is the common one that we get is when people run a query and it says report not found. Some of the things that come across your help desk, and then I can move a little bit into reports because I think for a lot of us, you get the script from us or the reports portal and there's already a report designed, but then you want something just a little bit different. And I just want to kind of show you how to do some of that. But for right now, I think I'm just going to create a simple query between two tables and just show you what's going to happen when it is looking, when you don't have joins. Okay, so I'm going to go to the most recent completed.
Before you move on, I have a question, something Melissa just said.
Okay.
When she was saying that we have to understand the differences of the GUIDs, and I forget which one she was giving an example of, that said the participant one you wouldn't want to join in that specific example because it was a higher level. Is there some sheet that would show the ranking of the joins and how you would determine what join you would use depending on the tables you're linking?
Well, there's really only a few. Participant is always going to be the highest, and then the next highest is probably going to be episode, and then assessment. That's really all there is. For the joining purposes, for the most part, for at least this new world of Compass. Now, care plans and bills, you'd still be using agent code, Social Security number, screening, or intake date. But for the assessment, the new assessment world, that's pretty much, I think, I'm trying to think of anything else that we would join by, but I don't think there are.
You always want to join by the lowest or by the highest?
By the lowest. So the one that narrows it down the furthest. So if you're pulling to the assessment level and you want to see different assessment type things, which means medications table, caregivers table, the DME, et cetera, all those things that are in an assessment envelope, then you would join those things together by assessment GUID. But if you take one of those things like caregiver and just want to say, let me show the caregivers for this person, well, the person you probably want to pull that from the episode and then join the episode to the caregiver table. And because the caregiver table is an assessment one, but the episode is not an assessment level. So the closest thing you can join those two together is by episode. Okay? So episode GUID would be what you'd use between a caregiver and the episode views. So, it just depends on how you're doing it. And you could look at the views, and if you don't see an assessment GUID, then you go, okay, is there an episode GUID I can join by? And then go that way, and that would work out too. That's another way you could rule of thumb do it. If you really are, it's too hard to think about. Because we understand that it's a different way of thinking about how these tables all interact with each other.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what I've done now is I've gone to the most recent completed medication table. I got the medication name and people's name, and I'm just going to say for my open people. Okay. When I click run, because I don't have any joins, remember I had joins and I deleted them, so right now I don't have any joins. I could do show script and it would ask me to do the joins, or I can click run and the join window will come up, and at that point it only shows me the tables that are in my query that I'm building. Okay. Episode GUID, create, voila. That's what's going to happen if you don't have if you're building a query or running a script that doesn't have any, well, the script would have the joins because you're probably going to start at the query level. Okay? So that's what you would see, is if you didn't have a join between tables, it would prompt you to do the joins. Okay? Okay. What I'm going to do now is go and open up an existing script that, there we go. that has some of the old fields, and I think the reason I'm going to show you this is because a lot of times you guys go to run something and you're like, wait a minute, it's saying that it won't run because it has the old fields. I forget the exact message it gives you. Okay. What I'm doing is opening up an old script. So this one has not been modified for the new views. Okay. For the most part, we got a ton from everybody to go ahead and fix those for you guys when we rolled out the participant release. But that's not to say that you forgot about some or you just didn't need them at the time and they're still sitting on your computer somewhere. This is how you would actually change it. As you can see, this is calling for the CTS MISIS episode, and the field is A_client city. First of all, we're not doing this part anymore. It's now the VW episode table, and actually the name of this field is different also. So this is the little thing that I use quite a bit. I do edit, tables, columns, and lists, and that gives me the same list of tables and views that I had when I was building the query. But because I'm in a script, I can't really get back there. So I always go down to the bottom, go to episode, and what I would do is highlight this, find my field city, and say add. Okay. Now that if I tried to run this right now, it still wouldn't run because, again, this is not correct. So two things you could do. You could, first of all, copy this so you get the table and the correct table for this. Okay. So now I have the VW. If you wanted to, you could say E, change this to E. Okay. All's good. I can leave that there, or I can do P, but I'm not going to because then I have to change all these to P also. However, look at my joins. Okay. They're the old 3 joins. So what I would do in this case is delete this. I would say E.participant GUID. Did I do a typo? Oh, right. I was thinking participant.
Yeah.
Sorry. Programs. See, it's that P. Equals, and then I would do, well, here's what I would do actually. At this point, I would go to the program status, and I would get to right there, right here, and say add. Now I have a join also. Again, because there was a group by, what I would do is just copy this and put it right there. Okay. So it's been modified. The script has been modified currently to, I have one more.
The condition.
This is why I love the E thing that we do. All I have to do is leave that E there. Okay. Anything else? Program status, agent code. Everything is good for the script. Okay. So that's one way to fix old scripts. This one actually is calling out an old report also. So what I want to do is go ahead and run this and show you how to update the fields on your reports, because we also, in that process of moving over to the participant, had a ton of reports sent to us to simply change the fields, and that's because no one really knew or understood how to do that. So because I'm showing you how to update some of your old scripts in case you come across one, I also want to show you how to update your old report. So I'm going to go ahead and say run the full script, because that means it's going to run down all the way through here and it's going to go, wait a minute, don't know about that report at all. Agent code is 99, which is my little test database. Program, I guess I'll do a waiver Y and a waiver I. Say OK. Swear to God, it just doesn't run it. Okay.
Oh,
so it's still, it's like, I'm sure some of you saw this when you had your old scripts. It's like some of the names and they don't match, etc. You say OK. This is my report. It pops up automatically. It says invalid data. Go to the design part of it.
Oh, because yeah, we have that built on our computers. They don't have this either, so they have to go file a report.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You know, I did all my walkthrough on my computer, not this laptop in here. Okay. So here's where this was supposed to go, was the design part of this. As you can see, it's still, this report still had the old field, simply double-click, go to the formula editor, click the new field, city, say OK, OK, preview. Your report now is fixed also. Do a file save, and you're good. Okay? Any questions about that? No? Did you get it, or was it just too fast? Okay, I'm starting to get nervous. No one's talking. Okay.
Okay, I'm going to tell you it was too fast,
Okay.
but I'm absorbing it.
Okay. The part where I was changing the fields, this part?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. How could I do that differently? Did I save this? No. Let's do it again. Do you mind? Does anyone mind? I'm just going to do it again.
Hope that'll be helpful.
Okay. 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 So I can tell if I were to run this, it wouldn't run because of, you know, it's old stuff.
Since the table review does not exist.
I was looking for what is the darn error message, but that's it.
I get it a lot.
Okay. And I happen, this is,
Why?
there you go. So what I wanted to do is go to the new episode table, so that whole VW episode table. Okay? So because I'm not really in the query window, most of you probably could just type it out. You could do a copy and paste VW in front of the episode. This is what I do. This brings me up that whole list that I saw in my query window. And then go to the very bottom, because that's what I do. And then I come back up to the episode table. So I click on it. Those are the columns in the episode table. What I want to do is say select the new episode tables, the city field. So I'm going to go down here, say add. Okay, so now it's that. I don't really have a way to put that table name here because remember the select is what I want to see, the from are the table names. So what I do is I copy the schema and the table name, Control C, and do that, Control V, okay? And I'm going to not shorten the names, maybe it will make sense then. I also noticed, or Melissa noticed for me, that this was the old table name, Control V, so I fixed that and that. And then what I have are old joins, because remember, scripts hold the joins that were on your computer at the time you created the script. And this is an old script. Okay, so all I'm going to do is get rid of those old joins. I'm going to leave my parens there because I need my parens there.
There you go. You know what?
Well, for the most part, if it was multiple joins.
Nope.
Thanks, Melissa.
No. The only reason you need parens is if you have or statements. So Clear Access puts them in there by default to make it more organized in its fashion, but they are not required. So if you screw up and take them out, you're fine. It's only if there's an or statement.
I leave them there because then when it doesn't work, I'm like, oh, what did I take out?
Well, that's true.
Okay, so I'm going to say the episode GUID because I know the join between the program status and the episode is the episode GUID. So I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to say add. See, it's right there. I'm going to say equals. And now I'm going to go to the program status. And I'm going to find the episode GUID. And because my cursor is right there, I'm going to say add. I have now built the join between the two tables. Okay, so I have the correct field name, correct table name. I fixed this because there was a condition on the field name. I have the correct joins. Oh, there's that field name again. Go up here, copy, Control V. I'm all set. That's the quick way to do it. I didn't do that whole complicated, I don't call it complicated, but that I may have lost you then when I put that E there instead. So I left it exactly in its, I guess, original state or however, the long state, the long description state. Okay? Now does that make sense?
Yeah. A
Okay.
little better, thank you.
Okay. So now I'm going to run it again because, mind you, I don't, oh, did I change that?
I think you saved the
I
report.
saved the report. Darn it. If I wouldn't have saved the report, the same thing would have happened. Tables or columns didn't match because this actually was the old city field name. And when that happened, I simply double-clicked on it. Then I wanted to get to that, so I said Formula Editor, and then I chose the new field and put it up there. Said OK, and then I had my data. Okay? And again, I don't expect everything to be absorbed today, but at least hopefully you'll grasp enough to say, oh, I know there's a way to do this, and then maybe even email Helpstar or give us a call. Okay.
Don't worry, we do have your number.
Good. This isn't a very complicated report at all, but there's just a lot of things you can do in reports. Of course, you can move fields around, you can change names, etc. You can change that to counts. It doesn't look near as nice as what it did, but you can change the, your labels. Sorting and grouping, you can actually set a sort or a group by a field. I'm not going to do that because this is just probably not a good example. There's that. I almost hate to show this, but it's just a cool function. There's such a thing as called filters. So maybe I have a query that gave me all my open clients, and that includes my care management clients, my waiver Y clients, my waiver I clients. And I open up the report, and it's like, yeah, I really just want to see waiver Y because someone's asking me for a report. Instead of going and changing your query or your script, you could allow the report to open and show you everything, and you could actually set a filter on it to include, and then you could say, if it was program, for example, program description equals waiver Y, say OK, and for that time being, the report would only show you the waiver Y.
That only works, though, if you had the program description
Right,
in the original query of your script.
That's what I meant. This is probably, I mean, I probably need a different report to show you something like that, to show the example. City, I mean, I could do it by city, but
Yeah,
what do we got here? Ann Arbor. So let's do that. So as you can see, I have Ann Arbor. So maybe I want to set a filter, and I only want to see Ann Arbor. City equals, it has to be in quotes. I believe it has to be exactly how it was. Okay, so I think it was all in quotes. Ann Arbor. Say OK, and there's that. Okay, you may do this with, if you're thinking about bills, maybe services. Again, program is the one that comes to mind. Maybe county. The only thing, and now that I've showed you that fancy little thing, that cool little tool, is that you have no way of knowing visually that you have a filter on here. So if you save the report and you open it and you keep only seeing Ann Arbor, you need to know at least to go in here and say, oh, there's a filter on it, clear it, okay, now I get everything again. Okay? Any questions? Okay. Let me do something. In here, this is basically the data. You could change the font on fields, the size. If it's something like progress notes, word wrap, so that it looks nice on your report. Any positioning, styles. I've used this a little bit. It's just some coloring. The one that I probably use the most is if I've created a grouping and I want the group, if I were to group by program, for example, I tend to put a color so that when I'm looking at the report, I know when the next grouping of data. It's just easy for me to scroll down quickly and it's like, oh yeah, there's the waiver Y people, etc. Okay. Again, I'm probably showing you things that you might know already, but maybe not. I'm not sure, again, the level. Sorting and grouping. Again, you can put groups. You can group on a calculated field. You can, it defaults to group and sort, but you could say sort only. This is if you don't sort within the query, because maybe it's going to give you a lot of data and you just want it to happen kind of fast, and you're going to do a report, just go ahead and set the sort inside the report, okay? Because it doesn't have to think at all at that point. Okay. This other stuff I don't think I understand. Any questions? Is there anything that you were possibly hoping to see and didn't see today? Not that I'm going to go and build all sorts of queries and scripts here on the webinar, but is there any question outside of that? Is anyone still there? Okay, I hear noises. Okay.
Can I have a question?
Sure.
In the beginning, you said that I was just wondering about which tables are live database. I was building a query, and I was told from help desk to use this CLNT.
Right. Yep.
They are 1 day old, right?
Yes, I'm showing that on my screen right now. The CLNT tables are day old. Okay, so if you were
VW, they are live, right?
yes, so if you were in making program status changes, etc., if you were to come here, you're going to see those changes right away, like in your results. If it doesn't matter if it's day old data, then definitely come up to the CLNT program status table. It's a lot quicker. The data, like it returns your results faster because it's just sitting there.
Right, and there's a lot of issues when it comes to the social worker and RN. If you need to do conditions on both of those tables in the same script or whatnot, you're going to want to use the day-old data because it may never ever come back if you're using the views. If Oracle does some crazy stuff behind the scenes of how it's interpreting of what it's to do, and we can't control it because they're two separate entities, and the two main fields to throw together. So that was one of the main reasons we had to do those day-old data to begin with, is to handle some of that. So if you're ever querying with, you want IHCSW and IHCRN data, I would suggest you just go with the day-old data on those because it's just going to take way too long to run in the other world, in the live stuff.
Okay. What about these tables that have a MISIS in front? Are they live or 1 day old?
They're live. What isn't live in MISIS?
Well, I just thought about this. There's the care plan summary, which is that MISIS or is it VW now? I think that might be a VW.
I don't go there very often, so
yeah, that's
this one.
The VWCP summary. That actually is a day-old data one. It runs nightly. It's not really a table. It's something we cobbled together so that you guys could see the data, what's the planned care plan information. So that one there actually is day old, but I don't think there's any other VWs that are day old. The VWCP summary.
Can you see my screen right now? It's the one I have highlighted.
Yeah. So that one's day old as well. Otherwise, the MISIS ones are all current, I think.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, they're all as of now.
And then again, these are day old data, the CLNT.
Yeah. And what's the CIM ones at the top?
Between CLNT and VW, those are just the same name, just one is live and one is not.
Right.
Well, the beginning of it. So the way you can tell the difference is CLNT is day old. If it come down here to the VW assessment, the table name is, you're right, is the same, but the prefix in front of it helps you know if it's day old or not.
And I think we have a few inconsistencies in between the fields inside between the two.
I came across that.
And that just happened because a different person did those then did the VW, so it got kind of messed up. But I mean, it's simple enough for you to figure it out, though. They're not like way out there.
I have a question.
Okay.
How extensively can we query CHAMPS?
You can't.
To query CHAMPS, you said? We can't query CHAMPS. We have no access into CHAMPS through their database.
You did have the one script where it said CHAMPS.
Oh, that's the data we got back from CHAMPS. That's the stuff we've stored from them. It's not us querying them. That's saying we received this data from them at one point in time, And so that's what we show in there. That's the insurance
But we
information.
can't actually query a team.
No, no. They don't give us that access.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
Anyone else? Questions?
I have a question. I don't actually use this, so I'm kind of out of my element here, but we have a report that we run on some kind of support coordinator data that ends up in a PDF. Is there a way to save that in something else so that it would be more easy? What we're trying to do is send it electronically to each support coordinator, just their data.
It depends on, I guess, the complication of the script.
Do you know if the script came from the reports portal, like where it came from?
I don't.
I was thinking it,
Who are not able to be in the room today.
I bet it's this one right here.
I can ask.
Or the monthly
I can
performance.
Right, because,
find out and send the questions
Yeah.
out.
yeah, maybe they're sending it when they, maybe when whoever is running it actually is saving it to PDF.
Right, and I can see that if they need the report to actually do the work, to make it pretty, and to actually show you the right data that you really want to see, then yeah, the PDF would be the only way to travel that around. But if the raw data that's in that clear access results window that we were seeing earlier, then that one can be saved to Excel or something from the results window. But if it's something that we've done that's more complex, even this one I think they could do.
I was going to say, is this the report by any chance? It's an open clients by, care manager case.
No,
No?
I've only seen it once.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Then
I got them to take screenshots of it and
oh, okay.
send them an email and it worked. So.
Yeah. Like I
Yeah.
know that SC monthly performance does a lot of calculations inside the report itself, so that one would not be conducive to putting it in anything else.
I think somebody just said they think it is the monthly performance.
Yeah.
report.
Yeah, because that's a monster.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Anyone else? Okay. Well, if you think of questions or you have a script you want that you've done or a query that you've done, I don't want to say query because I'm going to ask you to email the script so I can see your joins, but if you go out and you build something and you want us to take a look at it, just go ahead and attach it to a help star request and we'll review it. Be prepared for, when we open them and look at them, our first thought and most times is like, okay, so what did you want this report or what did you want this to be? So just keep in mind, we tend to ask a lot of questions like, okay, so in this situation, do you want this and that? So it's not that, we're trying to judge or anything. We're just trying to help you make sure that you're getting what you want and need. Okay, well, if there aren't any more questions, then I think that's probably it. Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Alrighty. What did I do?